Yes, yes, that's right. Today we are talking about how can grief accelerate your spiritual journey? How can loss accelerate your spiritual journey? And a lot of times we kind of see grief and loss as a necessary evil of day-to-day human mortal life. And I want you to know that not only is it not evil, it is necessary. So both on those both parts are wrong. It's not an unnecessary evil. It is both necessary and not evil. And how so? Because it feels so painful. I want you to think about the times when perhaps you've lost somebody that you held very, very dear, somebody that you've loved and cherished, a grandparent, a parent, a spouse, a sibling, a dear friend, maybe even somebody you weren't even close to. Perhaps he was a celebrity or a social movement catalyst, an artist. I remember deeply when I heard the news that Prince had passed away. I was standing in line at a Smoothie King waiting for my order for my lunch. And when I saw the news coming across my phone, I literally just started bawling as if somebody had texted me that mom died or somebody, right? When I got to the front of the line, the lady was like, what's the matter? She was upset. She was upset that I was upset. Has that ever happened to you that people sometimes don't know how to hold space for your distress, right? And so I said, oh my God, I just found out somebody really, really, that I really, really love passed away. That's all I said. I didn't say it was Prince. I didn't say it was a relative. I didn't say anything like that. I just said, I found out somebody I really love passed away. And she said, oh my God, allow me to give you lunch on me today, on us today. And, your order is free or whatever the case. Prince got me free lunch on the day he passed. And I am bringing that story up because many times the proportion to which you feel the grief or the sense of loss isn't commensurate with proximity or with intimacy or with love, even. It really is much more directly proportional to your attachment to that person or thing. Your attachment, not your love, not your intimacy, not your commitment, even. Isn't that interesting? Because then what ends up happening is when you understand that, then you can use the fuel and the proximity and the stories that you have shared together or the things that have been memorable for you in that particular relationship or those particular circumstances to fuel how that loss sustains you, how that loss strengthens you and fuels you, as opposed to actually take you out of the game. Many of you know that a few years ago in 2021, my father passed away. And that was a big, big loss in the family. My father was like the patriarch, and I was daddy's little girl, and we were very, very close to for the last four, maybe I would say 4 years of his life. He it was almost like it was extra credit. We said all that we needed to say. We forgave all that we needed to forgive. We spoke about things that, I could have gone my whole life without knowing that about my daddy. You know what I mean? Like it was extra. It was just extra. And when he passed, yes, it was painful because I'm still attached to my father. Yes, it was painful because I had a preference. I wanted my father to live forever. But I also knew the man is 90 years old. He's tired. He's ready to go home. And he's done here. And you guys are done here. There's nothing left to say or do. You're complete. And so that sense of completion allowed the attachment to soften a little bit, to not feel so like hooked. And I think sometimes we culturally, we give a lot of weight to the sense of loss, much more than to the sense of completion, right? Because if you could sit in your sense of completion, there would be nothing to medicate. There would be nothing to numb. There would be nothing to fix. And we are in a society that likes to fix and feed and numb and medicate. right? And so when you start getting closer, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this series about your spiritual journey, because when you use these things that seem to be just normal part of the course of human consumption, of human condition, of your mortality, your humanity, etc., and you can use these things to become much more of the divine that you were already created to be, then you are not as hooked into your mortality. You're not as hooked into the limitations of your humanity. And you have heard me say before, your humanity does not exempt you from your divinity, and your divinity does not diminish your humanity. Right? So, how do we actually, quote unquote, how do we do this? If you were to do this in like a journal prompt arrangement, here's some journal prompts that I think might be useful to you, that you could write some of this stuff out. First, pick the person or the thing or the circumstance that you feel grief or loss about. It might not even be a person. It could be a job. It could be a marriage. I mean, the marriage is the person, right? But the situation itself, sometimes we grieve the relationship and not necessarily the person we're in a relationship with. Oh, just me? Oh, okay, sorry. And so here's some questions to help you move through some of that grief and some of that loss. One is get clear about what it is that you are feeling a sense of loss about. Like I said, there's a distinction between grieving a relationship versus grieving the person that you're in a relationship with. Two different things, two different losses. And then secondly, what is it that you actually feel lost? Feel that you lost. It could be the sense of status. It could be the companionship. It could be the flexibility to be able to call at any time and have a conversation with this person, or to, brainstorm on something that's important to you, et cetera, et cetera. What are you actually missing logistically? What's the real thing that's been taken out of your comfort zone or taken out of your existence? So think about that. Good morning. And then think about what still remains of the thing that you're grieving, of the thing that you've lost. What still remains? Maybe memories still remain. Maybe you do still have access to that person, just in a different way. Maybe you do still have a possibility of a brand new career or a job, et cetera, just not that one. Maybe you do have, you still have your health and your senses about you, et cetera, right? And so all is not lost. And so that will help you to stop catastrophizing things, because sometimes the sense of grief and loss is so great that we think we lost everything, that we feel that we've lost our grounding when we've lost this person or this relationship. And then finally, how does this loss help you become a better you, a bigger you, a higher you, a stronger you? Be willing to look at that. One of the things that I have noticed about the losses that I have experienced over the past few years, especially, have been that the people that I have lost throughout the past few years have all been people who in some way still had me like a child, who in some way still had me like a child. So losing these people on the physical plane allowed me to stand up to my own elderhood, my own adulthood, my own sense of self, my own sense of power, that I didn't have daddy to lean back on anymore because he's not here. I still do have him to lean back on, in that we still have a spiritual relationship. But it's different now. I have to stand on my spiritual power in order to access my father now, not the child me, right? And so what's now available because of this loss that you wouldn't have had available unless and until you had that loss? Is any of this opening anything up for you? I would love to hear from you about what's opening up. Ooh, Lawrence, I love it. First in line. Yes, Lawrence, you raised your hand.
Yes, this is a wonderful topic. Wonderful topic. Thank you, Dr. Gando, and Grand Rising, everyone. Hmm. Well, there's three people that I have grieved, and but somehow naturally I've done some of what you like. It didn't become a negative, stuck in grief for whatever reason. I didn't know, and I'm still stuck. And one of them was a man I met in Manhattan. I first came here. I used to clean house to make, for money. And I love cleaning. So, and it was very therapeutic for me. But this particular man, he was like an angel to me. Like, he would just say, Florence, you have greatness in you.
Mm.
Florence, one day you will be something huge.
Wow.
And yes, and he would call me and speak to me and tell me he's telling me things that he's never told to anyone. He speaks to me like if I'm his mother. And just I didn't have any papers in this country. And he would always tell me that when I cleaned his house, when he didn't know what I did, but it felt so beautiful when he came into his apartment. And then he would just put more money on the table and put more money.
Sweet, sweet.
And
Yeah.
when he passed, it was a really huge loss, well, to me. And then his daughter said a very negative thing. I told her how much I liked him, or I enjoyed working for him, and she said something very nasty. And she said, "Oh, but I think you like the money more, right?" And oh my God, it hurt me so badly when she said that. So
Mhm.
anyway, years,
So one of the
all
one
I
of
can,
the one of the things that I hear in what you're sharing, Florence, and tell me if I'm on the right track, is that
yes,
you appreciated how much the man appreciated you and how
yes,
much he saw your humanity and treated you in a kind manner and reminded you that no matter your circumstances, that you're bigger than your circumstances. So when he's passed away, in a way, that reminder also passed away. And when somebody
yes.
said something about it's all about the money, it felt so reductive because it was so much more than just
Oh,
the.
yes, it was more. But then what happened just that day, I did like when he died, just around that time, I took an exam. And the exam was going to prepare me forward. And it's just like if the grief that I was feeling for him, it said to me, "Oh, he has taken you as far as he can help you to go." And now God is, in a way, God has taken him now, but it's because God sees that you are able to stand now on your feet and just move forward, and that's the
Mhm.
significance. So I didn't end up grieving for him as much as I would have grieved if I didn't understand something like that. That he took me up to this point, but then there was going to be like I was going to be able to go forward and
Yeah.
use that as a platform. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Laura says in the chat, Florence, greatness lies within you, beloved. I love it. Thank you, Laura. Laura Pilgrim. Who else has something? Thank you, Florence, for that contribution. Who else has something? A question or a similar story about how grief has impacted you and how it's grown you up. Yeah. My whiteboard. Why is my whiteboard loading? Oh no, this is Ruru. Ruru, we're not gonna do that today. Who else has something?
I'll share.
Hi.
Hey, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Somebody else?
Come on up.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Grief. Grief has changed my life tremendously from I was 6 years old when my
Mhm.
father died. It set me on a path of seeking, understanding how the world works, because I had a dream. And in the dream, I was it's like I was feeling what he was feeling during his transition. I was hurting, I was crying to be
Oh wow.
awoken, to be
Yeah.
told that he's dead. And that left me curious, wanting to know, how did that happen? How on earth? So I've been from ever since just trying to get an answer to that. And it has led me on a path. It took me out of church. And through the grief and the trauma, I had to escape the church that was perpetuated more sadness and trauma for me. But it has set me on the path that I am today in terms of my spirituality and who I've become.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Laura. Yeah, thank you. Here's another thing that I will say, and perhaps you might find it useful because it has really helped me a lot. That I found that in the first half of my life, I spent a lot of energy avoiding whatever might feel uncomfortable, whatever might feel painful, etc., as though life is supposed to be a smooth ride, and whatever was not smooth was somehow wrong and needs to be removed or fixed or avoided, etc., etc., right? And it kind of dawned on me, and perhaps it has already dawned on you. You were born into discomfort. It was an uncomfortable situation. The pregnancy was uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to have a whole human being grow inside of you and rearrange your insides. Ask any pregnant woman. That shit is uncomfortable, excuse my French, right? And then to actually deliver a baby is also uncomfortable, to say the least. Some people would say it's the greatest pain they've ever felt. It is also uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable to go without sleep while you're tending to this beautiful little creature that you just brought into this world. It's uncomfortable to have to go to a job or to make money or to earn a living that you perhaps don't want to, just because you have to provide for this baby, et cetera. So even just bringing life into the world is a volunteer project for discomfort, right? And so I want you to think about, what if, as I've told Gio, and Gio, you're gonna laugh because I'm gonna say now what I've said to you before. What if pain and discomfort isn't a glitch in the matrix? It's built in. It's in the design, and it's there to serve you. It's there to serve you. And so if it is there to serve you, what is its purpose? What is it there to serve for? Right? And one of the things that I have learned in my own grief journey, and you tell me if you relate, grief allows me to reconnect with or remember what is important to me about a relationship, about a person, etc., to honor that which I deem important in some way or another, and to be present to that which remains. It helps me to not take the people that remain, the relationships that remain, the situations that remain, it helps me to not take them for granted because I've lost enough, right? And grief and loss for you can also grow you up in the way that losing all these people in my life has helped me. Like I said, the people that I've lost in my life reminded me of me being a child, that I could still default to being a child. There was still a part of my relationship with my father where I could still devolve to being his little girl, even though he was 90 years old, and in a way he was my child, right? And so losing my father in that way allowed me to be like, no, you're grown. You can do this on your own now. You don't need him in that way. The way that your father can now be a father requires him to be in the spiritual realm. There's nothing else he can do for you in the physical realm. You got it from here, right? So that was a powerful, albeit unwanted, but very necessary reminder. Gio, you have something?
I was really present to the impact that Thursday has had on me, the daily huddle on Thursdays has had on me.
Mhm.
You were speaking, and when you make the inside joke about pain is not a glitch in the system. I think for a while, I don't know, I'm going to say since then, maybe for a year now, I have been in this inquiry of discovering the blessings behind a painful experience.
Mhm.
And I really don't want to go through a painful experience. I really don't want to. It's like I don't want that blessing, you
Right.
know, spare me of the blessing, spare me of the lesson,
Yeah.
what it feels to go through grief or what it feels to go through a massive disappointment in my life, and pain. However, since you have taken on this conversation, maybe I have gone through a few real ones in my life,
Mm.
and I have gotten better at quieting my mind, at trying to change what I'm going through,
Mhm.
and also trying to wish I wasn't going through it.
Right.
I'm better at doing that, and it has left me, in this kind of state of, for the I don't want to say for the first time, but a real authentic state of no regrets, neither no pride.
Yeah.
Neither. Like, it's more of just gratitude. No
Yeah.
regrets because I got a chance to get all that complete. And also pride, no, because to be too proudful of something is to discredit so many people that helped me, for me. So,
I can see
it's
that.
like, definitely a sum up of my community.
Yeah.
Um, but certainly when I'm going through something, I intentionally try to quiet the mind and not wish I should be going through something else,
Right.
but just kind of allow the whole thing to reveal something powerful and
Yeah.
masterful. And I still want to say, but I don't want to go through stuff like that. I don't, it's just too
Right.
painful to fix something.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, it is painful. We don't want to minimize that. Sometimes we we try to make somebody feel better as they're going through their pain by saying some pithy saying like, "Oh, everything happens for a reason, and God is not going to give you more than what you can bear." And when you're in the middle of pain, you don't want to hear that because you're like, "Listen, God's meter is jacked up. He has given me more than I can bear, and I'd like to talk to the manager, right?" So it doesn't help. It doesn't feel soothing, right? I think the more honest way to be in relationship with someone who's going through pain is to acknowledge the pain. This sucks, and I'm sorry you're going through this. I wish there was something I could do to stop it or to make it better, but there isn't. So the best I can do is just sit with you and witness you. You know, that feels so much more like thank you for not saying some ridiculous thing. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I totally acknowledge you when you're sharing this about like, yeah, I still don't want to go through it. Yeah, nobody does. It's horrible. And wow, what an amazing miracle we get on the other side.
Recently, I lost my grandmother, who is the
Yes,
one person who really gave me access to the person I am. I
yes.
grew up with her, and I really prepared myself to allow that transition to the eternal. But then a few weeks later, maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, a really good friend of mine, someone maybe only 10 years my senior, just someone who has been in our company, someone who I have for 7 years, who have done a lot of work on transformation and leadership. She passed away like that, from nowhere, like that. She passed away. And all of that work I did with my grandmother to not break up, when she passed away, it put it all together
Yeah.
for me, and I lost all meaning to my life, and I lost all purpose for a while. I resented God. I
Mhm.
resented the whole process, and And I didn't want to talk about it because the last thing I wanted to see is someone tell me you're weak. Oh, no, no one's going to say that. But the last thing I want to see is somebody's eyes saying, you know,
I pity
it's
you.
okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't want no pity, you know, like
Yes.
it was really, really, really tough. And without trying to say the same thing, the conversations on spiritual matters on Thursdays have given me access to stay quiet and wait for what it can reveal.
Mm.
Not their passing away, but the way I grieve.
Mhm.
It can reveal something. And anyway, I wanted to add that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for that. Very sorry for your loss. People that are meaningful to us, we hate to see them go, and we want them to stay with us forever. So I'm sorry for your loss. And then secondly, wow, what a powerful statement to the love that you share with these people, you know, because we don't ever ruminate on people or things that don't matter to us. Right. So if we ruminate on people, especially if you ruminate like day after day, here I am 3 years later, I'm still talking about this Papa Ogando person that y'all never met, but for some reason you feel like you know because I've talked about him so much. And your grandmother, I feel like I know her because of the stories that you have shared and the laughs that we've shared, the anecdotes that you have about her, etc. So, you know, there's a saying in Latin America, in Dominican Republic, and I think in other countries too, that says you die two deaths, right? The first is when you leave your body, and the last death is when the last time somebody says your name. And so as long as we continue to say their names, they continue to be with us in the best way they can. So thank you, everybody. One last question. Does anybody have any last question? Thank you, Gio, for your contribution. I appreciate you, my friend. Anybody else? Last call for alcohol. Did you guys know that alcohol means waking up the spirits? That's why people say spirits when they say alcohol. Oh, come on, etymology. I'm here to teach you something. Anyway, last call. Anybody have anything? Last question, comment? Okay.
I have a spiritual connection with
I would
alcohol.
like to say,
Yes.
I'd just like to say that I never asked God a question like that. But when Ray Charles passed, I asked him, did you really have to take him?
Mhm.
Like I said, did you really have to take him? God, why didn't you leave him? Because to me, the joy that he was, the joy that he brought, I wanted to see that person around like forever. And so I asked
Yes.
God, why did you have to take him? Did you really have to take him?
My goodness. Yes. Can we have a trade, God? Because I'd like to send somebody back and you keep this one. Let me keep this one and then I'll send somebody else back. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally hear you. Really. We all have our nominees, right? It's like we're gonna send us these ones and then we'll send you those. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us today. I appreciate you being able and willing to have this conversation. I know sometimes it can be painful to even explore our grief, never mind to actually live in it, right? And so I thank you for sharing your heart with me. Remember, of course, to love generously, to laugh, cackle. I did a lot of laughing yesterday. It was such a good day yesterday. And I want you to remember to give of yourself, give of your time, your energy, your attention, your love. Eat more plant-based foods, drink some water, sleep at least 7 or 8 hours, stress less, move more. Remember that twerking is a spiritual practice. It will help raise your kundalini. Every time I say that, Robin's like, I don't believe you. But it is, Robin. You got to try it. Love you, everybody. See you next time.
Love you, Doc. Take care now.
Thank you all. Love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.